How far do people really want to ride gravel? As an events promoter, that's something I need to be aware of and stay on top of. And it has been a changing scene. We've been putting on gravel events since 2010. We were towards the front of things. We're not originators by any stretch of the imagination, but when we started doing events, we were defining what the gravel scene was for our area. The reality of gravel riding is a lot of the people that get into gravel riding don't necessarily know what they want and how to get there. We try to put the pieces in to help them get there. The reason for this video, quite frankly, is because of a discussion we had on spinistrychat.com where I was asking what distances people wanted for their weekend group rides so we can better put together the rides and events that meet what riders are needing in 2025. I think I have a good idea what that is, but it doesn't hurt to get confirmation from the riders themselves. And part of that discussion was a request for more longer events and more longer rides. And the reality is, I don't think there's anybody that does more long rides, long routes, long events than us, quite frankly. But the reality is that's a very small audience. That's a small group of riders that are interested in 200, 300, 400, 500, 1,000-mile routes, rides, and events. What I decided to do was put out a survey to find out what distance people are wanting to ride. If you did not get this survey, please do comment below what your preferences are along these lines. What we asked was weekend group rides, mixed surface or mostly gravel. How far do you prefer to ride? And we had options of no more than 25 miles, no more than 35 miles, no more than 50 miles, no more than 75 miles, or 100 miles or more. I think that did a good job of kind of segmenting where the riders were. Now, we published this poll on our social medias and also to our email list, which went to over 7,000 people. That's not everybody. And I do recognize there is a bit of self-fulfilling prophecy in this in some way, shape, or form, in the fact that obviously our mail list is going to have people that do our event. So they're going to be more likely to do the types of rides and distances that we offer already. So that's why I'm not saying this is the be all end all, but I do believe it's a pretty good cross section of mixed surface and gravel endurance and ultra endurance riders and what they're looking for. You know, what are you wanting to do on a weekend event or group ride? And I can't say that I was surprised by the results by any stretch of the imagination. I think the general ratios worked out about what I expected. And quite frankly, very much in line with what we've seen from registrations for the different distances that we offer for our events. So again, weekend group rides, mixed surface or mostly gravel. How far do you prefer to ride? We had 155 responses. I think that's statistically valid right there. Again, feel free to add your comments below. I welcome feedback. This is not the be all and end all for us. And then if you stick around after I go over the numbers, I'll explain how this is going to work into how we do some of our things in 2025 and going forward from there. We're not getting rid of long rides. I can assure you of that. But at 41.9% of the responses, let's call it 42, no more than 50 miles. Okay. That's endurance riding. I buy into that. At 40%, no more than 75 miles. Not a surprise there in that those were our big chunks, 50 to 75 miles. Now, here's how I want to break it down to paint a picture, to make this from an events promoter perspective, from a club organizer perspective, from putting together club rides and things like that, routes for the future. Here's what we're looking at. That is essentially 82% of the market wants to stay between 50 and 75 miles. That's a big chunk. I know there are people that want to go longer. I'm a fan of long, hard, and dirty. That's why that's our catchphrase. I want to get more people to stretch their capabilities, test themselves. There's no doubt about that. But the reality is that 82% of the riders in our environment, if this were sent out people that were just doing the tour thing, obviously these numbers would be different. But I do want to reinforce that Spinistry is very ultra distance oriented and has been our entire existence. This is going to be representative of how limited the true ultra distance mixed surface and gravel riding population is. Let's leave it at that for now. So 82% is looking to do 50 to 75 mile rides for a group ride on the weekend. No more than 35 miles came in third, 11.6%. We'll call that 12%. So we're up to 94%. You see where this is going? 94% want to stay between 35 and 75 miles. No more than 25 miles. This one surprised me. I expected there to be more newer people that were interested in shorter distances. I see that on a lot of the social media pages and things like that, the group pages. What's the closest gravel to me at my address in some major metropolitan city? I want routes that are 15 miles or less. That probably is a byproduct of our specific audience where we don't cater to the true beginners. I'm not saying we don't want to. I'm just saying our bandwidth is limited. We can only do so much. I have some ideas how to help out the beginners. There's no doubt about that. We've tried to do some things in the past. It's very difficult to coordinate. There are many ranges of beginner. And the reality is a lot of people that are truly beginners and should look at things from that perspective don't want to consider themselves beginners. It gets tricky. I have ideas how to address that. That said, to me, it's a positive that I don't have people with unrealistic expectations on our email list, I guess is the best way to put it. I want to help those newer writers get to this point, but that takes a lot of bandwidth. That takes us to, what did I say? Let's call it 95%. At least 5%, 4.5% of the respondents to this poll, which the audience that the poll was sent to makes up a lot of people that are into ultra endurance gravel grinding. Probably more than any other email list you'll ever come across is my guess. I could be wrong. Less than 5% were interested in routes 100 miles or more. Those are the numbers that we work with as an events organizer, as a ride organizer, as a route creator. Anybody that knows us knows that we devote way more than 5% of our resources and time to those types of routes because they're what tickle my fancy. That's what I like. Those are the routes I enjoy putting together. I would love to find ways to make more of those happen. The way to make more of those happen is to get more people doing what leads up to 100 miles and more, what leads up to 200 miles and more, what leads up to 500 miles and more. So we have to build that core 50 to 75 mile group. The 35 milers are very integral to that. And that's a coming and a going thing. Make no mistake about it. Gravel and mixed surface riding is heavy on the over 45 crowd. I'm starting to see indicators that 30 to 40-year-olds are getting more into it. Our numbers are going up there. It doesn't seem to be checking a lot of boxes with people under 30, though. Some of the riders that are starting to age out or for whatever reasons, are backing down from their 100-mile rides or 75-mile rides to 50 to maybe even 35-mile rides now. So that 35 to 40-mile group, that's important. And I think we need to do a better job of supporting those riders. Those people that are wanting to do shorter distances, we're going to put together educational pieces to help them get to that 35 to 40-mile range. The meat and potatoes riders, 50 to 75 milers, they're pretty self-sufficient. These are endurance riders that can take care of themselves. I say that they still want a good group of people to ride with. They want a great route to ride. They want stories to tell. They want memories. That's what we specialize in. We love to help those pieces come together for everyone. So along those lines, what these numbers breaking down mean for us, most of our club rides on the weekends, let me qualify that, on the weekends, is going to be oriented between 35 and 75 miles. But I don't want to go too far into the weeds. I'm not a big fan of mileage. I'd rather equate it to time in the saddle. But I understand that most people count miles. They don't count hours. Realistically, you should be counting hours. We'll save that for a different video. 35 to 75 miles is going to be our bread and butter. From time to time, we'll have 100-mile and up routes as part of those bigger events. But I think most of our club spinistry rides, most of our spinistry events are going to be focused in that 35 to 75 mile route range. But for those people that do want more mileage in that, or do want to maybe do need a shorter route, this is easier to do for the long routes. This is really simple. Quite frankly, this is really easy. If you're wanting to ride 125 miles on a weekend that our longest event is 75 miles, go out and do the 75-mile course, come in, say hello, check in at timing, have a cold drink, snack, whatever else, and go out and do the 50-mile route as well. Just let us know that you're out there. And that's a 125-mile day for you. That's a fantastic training day. That's what we want to do for these ultra endurance riders. We want to provide the opportunity for them to train for their true bucket list events like the Tour Divide or Unbound XL or Gravel Worlds 350, 300, any of those. You want to do something super long, super hard, super dirty. Spinistry's long, hard, and dirty approach will help you get there. Now, along the way, we are definitely going to throw in dedicated events to those ultra endurance riders. We always have, we always will. We're not going away from that. But our bandwidth is limited. Our resources are limited. We have to focus them where they deliver the most bang for the most people most of the time. But we're still going to have our outlier events. Rat 1000, come on now. Can you get much longer than 1,000 miles? We've been doing that since 2014. We're going to have our Crazy 300 loop in May. Red River Riot, we'll have a 100-miler in that. Ultimately, where we want to take things is our premier ultra endurance event is our Privateer Invitational Gravel Grinder in conjunction with the Texas Chainring Massacre to kick off the gravel season for everybody in January of 2026. If you want to get trained up for that, if you want to qualify for that, show up for our weekend rides, our weekend events, our traditional events. Red River Riot's going to have a privateer qualifier distance, 100 miles or more. We'll do that with other events throughout the year. We'll do some dedicated ultra endurance things as well. We definitely love point to point. We love bike packing. The reality is it's a super small audience. It's a niche within a niche. And we can support it. We just can't grow that niche by ourselves. So hopefully that gives an outline of where we're going, why we're going. I am definitely fascinated by anyone else that's out there that has different thoughts on what the proper distance is for their needs. And if we're looking at it wrong, thanks for joining us. We got more coming your way.